What's up? Happy President's Day, co-workers, colleagues, friends, my peoples. I am here for y'all. You guys are here for each other. We are all in this room together, and we're here with Michael Dean, who's holding the fort down until Tori Shulman, may our beloved Tori, can hopefully pop on for us. Michael Dean, what are you up to on this day that we should be all not working, but we're obsessed with the show, so we're working? What you got going?
That's a really great question. I am getting some work done on the house. So I had someone come over for an estimate. I have an electrician here, and I'm working on a little fundraiser project as well. So it's been kind of a busy day.
Are you feeling better? Because the colleagues need to know this. I did what any good middle manager would do and sent Michael home a couple days last week. Mike, you never say, when I was like, why don't you just take this one off? You were like, okay. Normally you're like, no, I'm fine. The fact that you were like, I could tell you were really hurting this week. So have you kind of healed up in the last few days?
Yeah. So I had septoplasty a week ago on Friday. That's where they fixed your deviated septum. And the surgery was pretty easy, but that recovery, man, I had a migraine, like a terrible splitting migraine all week until Friday when I complained again, and they gave me some prednisone and finally went away. My whole left side of my face was sensitive to the touch. I couldn't sleep on the pillow on that side.
You know how sensitive you have to be where you can't sleep on a pillow?
Yeah.
That is like the softest thing that we can make still hurts my face.
And they after they do the septoplasty, they insert these giant splints up your nose into your sinuses. And you'd think they were just like little small tubes. No, they were like the size of your whole hand or your finger that goes all the way back in there. They were so big. It was like literally I could feel it tickling my brain or poking my brain in the back. It was so uncomfortable, and those came out last Wednesday. But yeah, don't do that if you don't have to. No fun.
I just always, I'm glad that what you went through is the reason that a lot of people put off surgeries that aren't. Obviously, you can't put off things that are life and death, but something like that where you're like, I can live with it. You did the hard part now, and now you get to just not feel terrible or semi-terrible a few times a week. So in the long run, this the week full of pain that I know you dealt with will be worth it. I promise you that.
Yeah, I thank you, colleagues, for all your nice comments too. I'm a little limp when it comes to being in pain, so I'm really happy that it's on the other side.
Yeah, beautiful. I was gonna say I had two. I was in colleagues. I was at the Hartford Funny Bone in beautiful Hartford, Connecticut. Technically Manchester, Connecticut, which is like a bedroom community. I just like to use that phrase. I don't really know what that means, but I'm gonna try and wait for Tori to tell the main story. But when I was going there, usually I take the train. Which isn't too far from here, and it drops you off right at Denver Airport. It's great. But I took an Uber, which I never do. And Michael Dean, I'm in the Uber. It's an hour ride. I'm in the Uber, 20 minutes, nothing interesting's happening. We get on the highway, and I'm on my phone, and I'm just I'm looking at my phone. The guy is coughing, not the kind of cough that you might do in a waiting room. He was coughing like the way that when somebody is sick in a room and you can hear it through the door, and you're like, oh, shut the door, Michael Dean. He's not feeling well. We'll just drop some chicken soup. He was 3 deep, I'm sick coughs. And then I swear, Michael Dean, this guy, at first I was like, is he nodding off? Because I felt like the car was drifting. And I'm like, Al, you're being a little bit better. And then something told me just look to your right, and I looked to the fender of an SUV is right here in my face. And then they honked, and then that woke him up, and then he then straightened back up, and all the while this is happening, some dude some like he was a young Hispanic guy. Some other Hispanic dude is calling him his name. It was like, because I saw his name on the caller ID. It was like 3 words, like Manuel Hernandez Angel or something like that. He just kept calling, and instead of just silencing it, he would just mute that one call. So the phone would ring, he would mute it, the guy would hang up, he would call back. The guy, he's driving and muting calls. He would mute like 3 calls. Then the guy would send like 2 WhatsApps, 3 crazy coughs, drift off to the left, straighten back up. And I told SAR, I was like, at this point, because we were on the highway, I was trying to figure out if I asked him to just pull over on the side of the highway, would there be like an off ramp I could walk down? And then, because I was like, I have to get out of this car. Michael Bean, it was absolutely terrifying. And when I got out of the car, when we got to the airport, and I went to say, thank you for the ride, I just looked, and his head was just like down like that. And then he just drove. He was just exhausted. But it was just Michael Dean, the phone, he must have got the same call from that Manuel guy. I'm not exaggerating, probably 25 or 30 times. He just kept calling over, and I don't know. I'm like, answer it, bro. I'm going to know at this point what the hell's going on in this situation. Then I had a crazier situation at the hotel that may have involved law enforcement. So I don't know. Yes, we're going to wait for Tori if she can pop on. She's not going to make it?
No, she texted saying that she's on the plane. She tried to wait, but check her bag.
Well, Tori's coming back to us. Yay. I'll tell the colleagues that. So this is not last night, but the night before, Valentine's Day night. And, it's Frank Caliendo and I had a fun weekend. I did 2 shows. I'm back in my hotel room on a Saturday night because I'm boring. And, get off the phone with SAR. And I'm watching a documentary, and I'm hearing like knocking. And so I'm like, where's that coming from on the hotel? And, I turned the volume all the way down, and I hear more knocking. And it's not like somebody banging with the bottom of their fist. It's just like the kind of knock you give with just your knuckle when that like your partner's inside and you just went to go get some ice and you're like, open the door. I know you have the latch on. And so, but it's like low, but it's incessant. I'm like, what? So I go to the door and I'm like, somebody's knocking on my door. So it's like 12:30 in the morning at this point. And I look through the keyhole, and it's just like, I just see like what I'm pretty sure is a woman's hair. And I'm like, may I help you? And she's like, let me in. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, I'm yelling through the door. I'm like, you have the wrong room. She's like, no, I don't, Mark. Just let me in. I'm like, I don't know who Mark is. You have the wrong number. And she's just knocking. And then she's doing the thing where like she's using her shoulder to try and like, because the door is moving at this point, she's trying to handle. And this goes on I have all this on video. I tried to airdrop it. When I give Tori the recap, I'll have the video uploaded. So she's trying to handle at that point. I'm like, I don't know what this human being's on. So I called the front desk, and I'm going to be nice and say 19-year-old, very sweet kid. This is one of those family run hotels. And so he comes up and he's like, what room are you? Because I got the feeling she was just a drunk girl that left the room and came back and went to the wrong room. So he's like, what room are you in? She got, like dumb drunk people turn into lawyers. It's not my right to tell you. I don't tell you that. And he's like, it's a 19-year-old talking to a 40-something. He's like, man, just tell me the room so we can get you. I'm not telling you. I ain't telling you nothing. And so he leaves. She's back to knocking on my door incessantly. I have to call the cops, Michael Dean, because at this point, this has been going on for 25 minutes and the front desk couldn't do anything. So the cops come. She then hears the sirens because I'm on the phone with SAR like, yo, there's a chick at my door. And at first it's funny because the front desk kind of had to do that thing where they were like, Do you know her? Like I possibly had a one night stand and kicked her out. Like, have you at any point known her? And I was like, I do not know this person. And so they call the cops. She hears a siren, so she has no shoes on. And so I guess she tried to run, but the cops found her immediately. They knock on my door like a normal knock, so I realize it's them. So I open the door. It's two cops, real cool, and they're just like, I love when cops are not professional, because there was like a shorter, chubbier one. He just goes, "I'm sorry, she is hammered," and he said it in one of those like New England accents. And so I guess she was just a drunken woman who was locked out of her room. I guess her dumb boyfriend, she left to go get something from the front desk, and he locked the door and passed out. And she went to the wrong room anyway. So they had to key into his room. And I'm sure that was quite the morning. I was hoping I would see her at breakfast, so it would just be super awkward. I was like, "What's up, boo? You act like you don't know me now." Yeah. But it looks like I got a free stay out of it. Yeah. So.
Oh, really? You parlayed that into a little gift.
Yeah. The colleagues, that's a new hack that we're going to use to save money this season. It's just like we're going to hire each other to come harass our rooms.
Yeah, drunk girl.
Yeah. It was quite the weekend, but Hartford was great. I forgot how much I love it up there. But Michael Dean, we have a lot to get to. Sorry, will you hand me the mouse that's in my bag? Yeah, I just we are unpacking as we go. Let's get to the first story, Michael Dean, because we have to get to this Nancy Guthrie story. That didn't you think like? No, not in a crude, thank you, baby. Not in a crude, mean way, but just kind of in a like, this is like, seems like a very solvable case. This seems like a person that could be very easily found if she is to be found, but it still isn't happening. So let's start the Nancy discussion. All right, so Michael Dean, the Nancy Guthrie hunt is going to go high tech. Apparently, they're going to use DNA, which is that high tech. They were using that on Maury 20 years ago.
No, they now also have what is called, this is according to CBS News, a signal sniffer that they've attached to a helicopter, and it is supposed to be able to detect Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker. And so they are flying this helicopter around the search area at low altitudes, trying to pick up a signal from this poor woman's pacemaker.
I want to see what the colleagues are saying about this, because Michael Dean, I'm going to ask you before I start running my mouth. Yes, Michelle, that's my point. It's been going on for so long. If you did have a low flying helicopter that could do this, where was this 2 hours after this?
I know, it's like some doctor just called and they had this idea. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just so weird. It's just like, it's 10 minutes to go on my birthday party. 90% of the guests have left. Let's break out the Dom Perignon. It's like, we should have done that. Let's do all the stuff when we can, when the people are here. And look, I don't know. Blast Radius does not think that, this person that is stuffing the ring cam with a bird's nest that they found around the corner, using a boxing glove to block the ring camera's view. This doesn't seem like a person that the FBI should have trouble catching.
Yeah,
I don't understand what's going on with this, Michael Dean. But they're saying that they're going to try and use DNA from the boxing glove, and they're using this helicopter. Is there something else going on here? Or is it just incompetence?
I just don't I mean, it's taken a long time to get anything put together. And my whole thing, I don't know. I feel like so much is being done to help it, this family, because they're the Guthries and because of Savannah. And like, I just know I just hope that if, some Joe Schmo had a family member missing like this, that all of these stops would be pulled out like this, that I would get some low-flying signal sniffer helicopter deployed for me. But I really don't think that's the case out. But it has gripped the nation, and it's just. I'm all for fighting Nancy, but it just reminds me of how different things are for people with money. And I hate to say it. I hate to be pessimistic about this story or whatever, but like, I won't get a signal sniffing helicopter.
No, they'll just be like, yeah, he went to Mexico. He just left you. I don't know what it. Yeah, that's what they say. It's just like if they can't find the body, they're like, maybe they just left. I don't know. This is such a weird thing because I wonder if strangely the fact that this was such a rich, affluent community, and I said it last week, is part of the reason they're so poor at their job. When you are in one of those cities where if there's a crime that takes place, they always start the documentary by saying, this is a place where you don't expect a crime like this. Well, guess what? Neither do the cops. They're sitting around flirting with baristas, playing fantasy football, getting expanding pant sizes every year. And guess what? You get soft. Just like a boxer, that there's an old saying in boxing that I've always loved, and it talks about like when you finally make it and you become the heavyweight champ. They say it's hard to get up and run at 5 a.m. when you're wearing silk pajamas. And it's just harder to train when you're living a life of luxury. And these cops have the luxurious opportunity to patrol a gated community, which means what? Making a couple passes and waving at an Amazon driver. These guys were clearly not prepared for any kind of investigation that required any of this. And I think most of the stuff we're seeing now is probably suggestions that they got from the community. I don't think this guy knew what a signal sniffing helicopter was. I think this cop had no idea what was happening, and he was probably shooting a short, half 9 holes somewhere when he got a text saying, Sarge, you need to come in. And I think this is the result of police not staying on top of the latest technology and not learning. Isn't there a show called The First 48?
Yeah.
Name a whole show that? Because you need to get this done in the first 2 days that the case goes cold. Well, what day is this, Michael Dean?
It's like, what is it, week 3?
Yeah. That show didn't do as well. The first 3 weeks.
Did you see this, what she posted yesterday?
What's that?
I wanted to come on, and it's been 2 weeks since our mom was taken, and I just wanted to come on and say that we still have hope, and we still believe. And I wanted to say to whoever has her or knows where she is that it's never too late. And you're not lost or alone.
Yeah, look.
She does not look good.
Michael Dean, I couldn't believe how bad she looked. I could not believe how bad she looked. And in a situation like this, I hesitate to even say this, but this weekend, bro, not only was I doing comedy, but I was going down some rabbit holes, bro. And there's connections to a lot of stuff. And I'm not going to get into that because I feel like it's very disrespectful. But I looked at all of the public face-to-camera pleas that they made, and some of them were very strange. And I just wonder, not if they took her, that would never be that disrespectful, but if they have an idea of what's going on. Because this just seems, what does Judge Judy say when something doesn't make sense? It's not true. Yeah. It just, none of this makes sense. They appear ready to pay. They have been for weeks. They don't seem too interested in following through on that. Bitcoin is the go-to kind of currency for people doing illegal stuff because it's almost impossible to track. There are even things I've seen. There's even called Bitcoin washers, where it's basically like you get the Bitcoin and it goes into this big jumble of other Bitcoin and comes out the other side, so you can get the currency, but the tracking is off of it, so it's untraceable money. And it's weird that they haven't gone through on the ransom that they have demanded. And I just wish the best for this Guthrie family. But I said it before and I said it again. When you elect somebody like Donald Trump, that's your business. But the fallout and the trickle down from that is that we have, as head of the FBI, a guy that was a conspiracy theory podcaster 2 years ago. Not somebody that you would expect to be in there, a boring person that is a lifelong career person, man or woman, and was a cop, a beat cop, a detective, went through all the ranks. Instead, you took a random guy and put him there. And we are kind of seeing the results of that. He's I wouldn't even say arrested, they detained thus far a delivery driver who didn't even know why he was being detained. They keep having these leaks like, the SWAT team descends on the house, but nothing happens. It's like, I don't know, in a normal FBI, will we be hearing all of this stuff? I thought part of police work was not tipping your hand to the media that, oh, we think Al Jackson and Michael Dean did it, so we're going to try and get them while they're online at their podcast. You want to keep that on the low. But when you're a podcaster, nothing you do is on the low. Your instinct is to promote everything that you're doing because, being a podcaster, that just visibility is a win because he's a podcaster first and the head of the FBI second or third. And I think that we're starting to see the results of that. If, we're even going to count the nonsense that happened when he told the Senate that Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficked himself. These are the people that we now have in place because we have a guy from Road Rules that's over our aviation department. We have a podcaster over our FBI. We have a former Joe Rogan guest and allegedly Russian asset, Tulsi Gabbard, as the head of our national defense, or is she international affairs. Yeah, you should look into her. She might not be on our team. That's all I'm saying. So, I mean, we have a very strange man at the top, and we have very foolish people around him. And it's a little bit of a scary time to be an American. But I'll tell you this, it's nothing if not interesting. All right, Michael Dean, let's move on. All right, Michael Dean, let's talk about the Epstein Files Blowback. Bondi says that they're all released, and lawmakers, including all of us, are like, really, sis? Really, sis? I don't think they are. AG Pam Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, also known as Donald Trump's lawyer, told Congress they've released everything required under the Epstein Files Transparency Act, but lawmakers are pushing back and demanding for more context, internal memos, and clarity on what is still withheld and why. So, Michael Dean, I just have to ask you, do you think this is all the files? I know I don't. And how can they even fix their mouth to say that?
Well, it's so weird to me because the last file dump, the one where they got it so screwed up and they ended up not redacting a bunch of the victims' names. At that point, when that was done, the Deputy Attorney General said that there were 3 million pages that were not yet released. And now it's like, oh, we released it all. So I don't know, 3 million pages seems like a lot to all of a sudden decide not to release and claim that it all has to do with attorney-client privilege or these other things that, have me scratching my head and people in Congress. Anyways, it sounds like a lot of BS bullshit to me.
Yeah.
And changing stories again. Like, Pam Bondi is like, you can't trust her at all.
That's over. I mean, I'm Michael Dean. If you kind of think about how this started, it went from, we got the Epstein Files to we just gave a bunch of right-wing podcasters a binder full of the Epstein Files, and then the right-wing podcasters were like, "This is all stuff that was in the public domain," and she's like, "Oh yeah, they are on my desk." Trust me, as somebody that BS'd his way through a number of temp jobs, I use that. That is on my. You're gonna laugh when I tell you that's on my desk. I can't believe I didn't fax that. So she says they're on my desk, and then as soon as those words came out of her mouth, she was like, "I think that might be real bad," because then she said, "Yeah, went through them, nothing to see." Cash Patel goes in front of the Senate, says there was no credible people to charge. Then the first dump comes, and everybody's like, "Oh my God." Then the second dump comes, and they go, "Oh my God." And then they said, "Well, we have 3.5 million more files, but they're mostly duplicates." And everybody's like, first of all, that's not true. But second of all, even if they are duplicates, send them on.
Yeah.
Go ahead and send them. We'll be able to tell which are duplicates, and we appreciate the warning, but we like to see the duplicates. And she's like, "No, that's it. That we don't have them." The lies are embarrassing, and I just don't think that they foresaw how much their base was like a dog with a bone in terms of this story and how deep this story went with them. And it's so interesting because, Michael Dean, why aren't we seeing QAnon taking the world's biggest, slowest victory lap? Just like when you break the 100-meter and you put the flag over your shoulder and you just wave to the audience like, "Yes, I'm the fastest person on the planet." They should be taking that victory lap, because remember, colleagues, please remember that when we heard that there was a group called QAnon that thought that there was an underground cabal of global elites that were eating children and trafficking children internationally, I was like, America has gone through a complete and total psychosis, and these people are not to be trusted, talked to, or negotiated with. And damn it, if they weren't right. Oh my God. Because, Michael Dean, every time we've scratched the surface, bugs come out of this. And if you think about how much we know, colleagues, and they've been fighting to suppress this, imagine if they just let the dam go. How much more, how difficult they've made it, where they said for Congress people to view the unredacted files, they need to go down to the DOJ, where they are clearly being looked because Pam Bondi's burn book had the searches of them, so they knew, Sarah, she's been looking up girls that were trafficked from Europe, so we're going to say this about her. And Al was looking at girls that were trafficked from Mar-a-Lago, so we'll be ready for him with a little comment about how dumb his turtleneck is. Like, they were their little mean girl in the Senate, and they said they have to go down to the DOJ. There's only 4 computers, and the Congress people going down there, Michael Dean, said once they got down there and were putting in direct searches, they were bringing up files that were redacted. They were like, "We're down here because we're supposed to see the unredacted. We can see the redacted ones at home."
Yeah. I mean, it's all a cover-up. It just bottlenecks so that people can't actually look at these files and do the work. I mean, there's so many of them that there's no way to go down there. You get to spend 8 hours a day. By the way, you can't bring your phone in there. They won't even let you bring your own paper in. You have to use their paper and their pens. And yes, everything you do there is monitored. So like, and there's 4 stations. How many lawmakers are there? There's 4 stations. So like, there's no way any of this is going to get out anytime soon if that is the way that they're being released to the people who have authorization to see them. It's another cover-up.
Yeah. I mean, that's their definition. Their definition of transparency is you have to come down here. You can only use one of 4 2009 Dell computers. We get to spy on you. You have to use our paper, our pen. You are here for I think you can only be in there for 2 hours. And we're going to make it difficult for you to see anything because the things that you want to see are already pre-redacted. So that's our Transparency Act. That's how we're moving forward. It's so blatantly obvious that I wonder, Michael Dean, and there's no way any of us could have an answer to this. Considering what we've seen, considering the disgusting things that we've seen discussed, what do you think they're withholding? You cannot be wrong in this. This is just a free-flowing, what do you guess? Because I have some thoughts.
You tell me, Al.
I think it's definitely a lot of Trump stuff. Obviously, that's not breaking news. But I think it's stuff that maybe we'll see it eventually, because obviously these bungling clowns can't hold anything back. I think we're going to start to get into some deaths. Some people where they're openly discussing the deaths of hundreds and maybe thousands of young girls. This has been going on. The Farmer sisters filed their first FBI complaint in 1996. Was Tupac still alive?
Wow.
And so, bro, I was a sophomore in high school. I have 3 kids. I have a kid in college now. Think about the amount of time that has passed since the first accusation. And the fact that none of this has been looked at. The FBI, I've been on them for a while because, I went down the Larry Nassar rabbit hole. That could be a whole nother podcast because so many girls were going to him and the FBI was shutting. Nothing to see here. Olympians, this guy did this, I don't know, and they shut it down. Is the FBI really there to figure things out, or are they a figurehead that shuts down investigations? Because do they ever solve anything except on television?
Well, I think there was a very large group of people, wealthy, powerful people, who knew exactly who Epstein was and exactly what he was doing. And it didn't matter to them that he was involved in this, behavior, because all that they cared about was his money and connections. And, beyond all the illicit stuff that he did, all these people knew. Everybody knew. And it's just okay because justice is different for billionaires. They get to do stuff like this. They get to disappear girls. They get to rape with impunity. I mean, I don't know how else to explain how this happened and how it got along for so long. They get to go to minimum security prisons where you can get out during the daytime and go to your office or get a bloody cat.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Or I'm going to talk to the deputy attorney general. And in return for that, I'll get moved to minimum security. I mean, none of this makes any sense.
Yeah, I'll tell you this, and this is the last I'll say about the what might be in those last 3.5 million releases. I was in Hartford, Connecticut this weekend, and your boy, I love to go down some rabbit holes. And Michael Dean, I saw a video that I called my best friend John Vargas to discuss, and he was like, "Oh, I've seen that for years." There is a video of a gorgeous model from Mexico. I think this happened in 2009. She has a mental break, and maybe if you can find it, it should be on YouTube. She has a mental break. She's speaking in Spanish in the lobby of this gorgeous high-end Mexican hotel, and she has a nervous breakdown, and she's screaming, "You guys don't understand. They're eating babies. They're eating kids." They then removed her because they were like, "Oh, let's get this crazy lady out of here, and she was never heard from or seen again. This was a person that had been, it had been, proven that she had just gone to an Epstein party like that night. When you see, or the night before, and when you see her, this is not, and this is no shade to people undergoing mental health issues. We see people all the time on the street screaming on the street corner saying, "I'm Jesus Christ." This was a put together young woman right up until the night before. So we have to ask ourselves, what happened in those 24 hours where this human being that was able to navigate the modeling world and make it to the point where she was an internationally known model has a nervous breakdown screaming, they're eating the children, they're eating the babies. She is then carried off, and then her family's never seen her again. She's never been seen online, never been found again. How'd that happen, bruh? What happened? That's what Ford used to say when he drank all his juice and he was trying to be condescending and just wanted more juice. He would just be like, "What happened? It was liquid in here and it's gone. You should probably refill it." What happened? How could you explain that? I think, Michael Dean, that there is some real sick stuff. The acclaimed series on HBO called True Detective. I remember season 1. There was a line in that movie that was just so chilling, where he said this case is a nightmare, and just like any nightmare, at the end of it, there's a monster. And I think that's where we are. I think we all, if we keep saying we want to dig, because if you're somebody, colleagues, where you're like, this is not good for my mental health. SAR is good at like disconnecting and things she knows aren't good for her. Tori is really good at just saying, I feel myself getting anxious. Me, I'm just going to go until I see something that makes it so I can't sleep for a week and a half. But we all are going to have to make some decisions about what our limits are in terms of what we consume, because we have to now know that the kid gloves are off. And what we've heard of the Epstein Files so far is the best sanitized version. The stuff Deepak Chopra was saying about cute little girls and them not having any car, all these disgusting people, that is just the appetizer. And we all have to wonder, what is the main course?
Well, can I bring up one other person who's been talked about now? Do you recognize this man?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
Bannon. So
what do you think? What do you think about everything that's going on? Because it appears that he and Epstein were working hand in hand to not only destabilize governments all over the world, but also reintegrate this prolific child molester, as was Noam Chomsky, and to clean up his public image and get him back into the public eye. So what's the latest with Mr. Bannon? Because I wonder how he squares this with his racist demographic. Do they care more about that than they care about the fact that he was working with this guy?
Well, so what's interesting is, like, there's texts from him, and I'll read one here. Like, first we need to push back on the lies, then crush the pedo trafficking narrative, then rebuild your image as a philanthropist. Like, he suggested lawyers and, crisis people to help, rehabilitate this man. Now, to me, that seems, like it's a service to Epstein for dubious reasons. Now, Bannon is saying he was just doing this in an effort to get close to him so he could make a documentary about him, which I don't know. Like, doesn't that then spoil what documentary you do, because all of a sudden as a filmmaker you're biased? Or
that's not really how documentaries are made.
I don't like,
want to,
that's super suspect. But yet again, interesting, who is working to rehabilitate his image, was also the person who maybe got a certain man elected, was a mastermind.
Absolutely. It does seem like this is all part of a bigger plot to destabilize, because remember, there's a lot of emails between Bannon and Epstein saying Brexit was just the beginning. What did Brexit do? Without getting too highbrow with it, it totally effed up the UK's economy and their trade connections with the European Union, the people that share borders with them, and that was meant to destabilize that region. What's going on with the United States besides having shock troops in the streets? We have tariffs that are affecting our ability to build internally, that are affecting our external allies, that are affecting imports and exports. So it's affecting our ability to conduct business, which is really what a country is mostly doing. Your business helps stabilize your infrastructure, which helps make your citizens feel protected. They can be more productive. But if all those systems and all those levels have been compromised, whether it's the citizens being thrown into jail, whether it's the police not following up on tips, whether it's tariffs making it impossible for the people that grow and export things to do that, or the people that harvest those things that are grown to feel comfortable in said country, there's going to be major economic issues and major economic fallout, major economic destabilization. And I can think of one or two people that might like that. Probably Putin wouldn't mind that too much. And also just rich folks in general. Don't forget that when the economy goes like it did whether it be the Great Depression or in 2009 with the financial crisis, rich people wait for all these stocks to hit the floor and they buy it all up. So they have a financial incentive to let our country burn to the ground because they buy everything for pennies on the dollar. And then when it builds itself up, they're even more wealthy. So we have to understand that, although I must give a tiny applause to Steve Bannon for the documentary BS answer, because I just feel like that's what you do as a dude when you're caught, like you're texting your wife. Yeah, baby, I'm at the public library volunteering, teaching kids how to read. Okay, so why don't you leave me alone? And as you're pushing send on that, she taps you on the shoulder in the strip club and she goes, "What are you doing here?" And you go, "I'm making a documentary." Like, you're done. That's all you got. You're just like, excuse me. Do you know how films are made, baby? This is show business. How dare you, Steve Bannon? The lies are so bad. Like sometimes, like you'll hear like a good cheating story on YouTube or Instagram, and you're like, man, he had a good double life going. How did he pull that off? You're like, it's terrible he did it, but at least that was a good lie. They're just like, yeah, we don't have any more. They sex traffic the kids to himself. Can you traffic then? Could I traffic drugs to myself? Could I be the world's biggest drug trafficker, but it's just to me? How does it like? Their lies are like not even. You would think with all the emails between all these guys, they would have kind of worked that out. Maybe hired a professional liar or two. But we will definitely see where this goes. All right, Michael Dean. I do want to get to this kids and immigration story, so let's talk about that. All right. Michael Dean, will you set this up for us? The kids held in immigration too long?
Yeah. So generally, it comes down to a 1997 legal argument from the federal court that basically holds that, it's generally the government should not hold children in immigration custody for more than 20 days. So that's been the rule of thumb that's been out there for, all these administrations. And at this point, children and families are being held for 3-4 times longer than that. In fact, there's this one story of this family that went in they're seeking asylum. They were released while their asylum claim was being, looked at, and they went to one of their immigration hearings and they were taken in. Now they actually were prepared for this. They had packed, and they were sent to Texas and to some immigration center, and they stayed there for over 60 days. And while they were there, their 1-year-old got very sick, started to have a fever, They asked for medical attention. The doctor on site told them, "Oh, it's a good thing that she has a fever because that means she's fighting the infection. So don't worry." Like, a fever is never a good thing to have. I don't know what the heck. Finally, they convinced them to send her to a doctor. She ended up at a hospital. She had COVID and another upper respiratory infection. Got a nebulizer and some pills. Were sent back to custody. You want to know what they did? They confiscated the nebulizer and her medications once they got back there.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, family said food had bugs, water stunk terribly of chlorine, and whatever money that they did have, they spent on bottled water to feed the 1-year-old.
Yeah. This is that's the other side of this coin that we are going to have to unpack over the course of 24 documentaries for the next 20 years is what, and if it's allowed, because don't forget that Netflix is now putting at the top of everybody's queue Jeffrey Epstein, Filthy Rich, and Ghislaine Maxwell's documentaries. First of all, the Jeffrey Epstein one is like from 2021 or something. It's from years ago. And now, Michael Dean, we've talked for almost an hour about Jeffrey Epstein. Guess how many episodes are in the Jeffrey Epstein documentary? 4. And then nothing. No more episodes. There are 2 documentaries about the Fire Festival, and that didn't happen. There's 2 documentaries about that. 4 episodes on Jeffrey Epstein. So if you wonder if the media is complicit, do you think this might be a story that a documentarian besides Steve Bannon would be interested in making? I think there might be a filmmaker or 2 that might want to take a stab at it, but nobody does. That's so weird. That is so strange that that I'm sure they just take it to a producer and there's like, I don't see a story here. What, the president and every world leader is directly implicated in a global sex trafficking ring? Yeah, but what's the payoff? Like, this is so clearly corrupt that it is staggering. And, if we are at some point in the future allowed to make documentaries, of course we will make them about what's going on with Jeffrey Epstein. But this is getting back to the detention facilities. We also have concentration camps. We have concentration camps in this country, and everything is so effed up, we don't even talk about it.
Yeah.
We don't even talk about it.
Speaking of these camps, I heard on NPR this morning, and this is kind of the next story in reference to the same sort of, holding kids for much longer than they're supposed to, migrant children. But the administration is sending every single pregnant minor to one location in Texas, to one facility there, and where that facility is well known for not having proper medical treatment or care. So let's just fill it all up with all the pregnant ones. And the reason they're doing it is because legally migrants in that situation are allowed to ask for an abortion. But it's not going to happen if they're in Texas.
Wow.
So if they were held at a center in California, they could get it done. They could get the proper care they wanted.
Yeah, this is a big deal. And we're also going to find out that a lot of those kids, their fathers are currently employed at those locations. The number of assaults, the number of essays that we're going to find out about, you think there's a lot of files that Epstein got. What do you think those fat, unemployed losers that work at those facilities just so they can physically and mentally torture the people there, what do you think they're doing? Do you think they're taking no for an answer when they go to reach for a young girl? How do you think that's working out? I think the number of DNA linked children that will be birthed from these facilities will almost have its own name. You know how like there's been different places where like we'll call like a segment of the population like the dreamers, the people that were able to come to the United States under that act. There's like the lost children of Cuba. Do you know about that? The lost children of Cuba. Oh, that's a fun one our government did too. We are an awesome country, Michael Dean. What we did to destabilize Cuba is we used a lot of propaganda, and basically we dropped leaflets saying that basically we're going to do harm to the people on this island and do harm to the children on this island. But and this is obviously during the time of Fidel when JFK was a president. What they did was they dropped propaganda saying if you sent your kid only, over to the United States, they'd be taken care of. So a lot of Cuban families sent their child by themselves over to the United States. And I've heard interviews with these people because they're adults now about they came to this country with no family, no nothing. They were adopted. It was just such a shady growth, but they're called the lost children of Cuba. And I think that we're going to have a similar title for the for all the children that are born to women by people that were charged with their care. So I don't know. It's disturbing, but it's not surprising. But let's get to this because Obama had some interesting stuff to say about apes and politicians. So let's get to it. Okay, politicians probably doing something shitty, but not in this case. In this case, it was a former politician that seemed very relaxed. I want to get to the alien comment first because if you guys didn't see the clip, Obama was being interviewed by Brian Tyler Cohen, correct? Was it him? Yeah, it was? Okay. And he just, when he was asked about aliens, he was like, oh, they're here. We just don't see them. He's like, was very
so he said the question was this is with Brian Tyler Cohen, and he said are aliens real? And Obama said they're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in Area 51. There's no underground facility unless there's this enormous conspiracy and they hid it from the president of the United States,
which is possible. But what do you think about how casually he answered that? And also, Michael Dean, colleagues, do y'all think aliens are real? Because I think a lot of people do, including your boy over here.
I 100% think that there are aliens. I don't necessarily think they're like green men or like Ferengi or Klingons or whatever. As cool as that would have been for this Trekkie, but there's got to be alien life out there. There are billions and billions of planets, and the universe has been around for billions and billions and billions of years. It's bound to have happened somewhere else besides Earth. We are not that special.
Yeah. Do you think that aliens have visited us and then they look and see that we still have to put a sign in the bathroom saying, please do not flush paper towels or anything larger than that in the toilet? And they go, oh, this society is not even close to being ready. You should see what we're doing on this planet. And then they just leave for another 1,000 years.
Yeah. I wouldn't blame them for going right past it. Yeah. Right past us. We're too concerned with our humanness and our individuality and not working together. Yeah.
I heard, and I haven't read this in a while, so I'm going to be wrong what I said, but I think it's the way that they look at societies, and I think it's like simple numbers. Like if you're a one society, you have different species, but they all like we do. We have different countries, different languages, different nationalities and ideologies, and sometimes they work together, but sometimes they butt heads. And when you're a zero society, that's when you all kind of adapt similar looks, language, and directives. And then that's when you can start to travel to other planets, when you have everybody kind of rowing in the same direction, for lack of a better analogy. And, obviously we're not anywhere close to that, but that is interesting because when you do see aliens presented in movies, and that's all we have to go on, they all are kind of like there might be a rival faction, but they're all kind of like wearing the same thing. You know, there's not a lot of they don't promote be your own you. You know, they're like, yo, like we're all one organism. And I could see that being something that you would need to go to that kind of next level as a society, and not just kind of like just try and dominate just the one place that you are in. Michael Dean, what did he say? But when I say he talking about former President Obama, what did he say about the ape meme that Trump posted?
Well, he slammed it. So he said, well, first of all, I think it's important to recognize that the majority of American people find this behavior deeply troubling. And then he added, and there's this sort of clown show that's happening in social media and on television. What is true is that there doesn't seem to be any shame about this among people who used to feel like you had to have some sort of decorum and a sense of propriety and respect for the office, right? So that's been lost.
I mean, speaking of that, and Michael Dean, we're running short on time, but I wanted to ask you, have you seen the clips of Trump in the last few days with him slurring his words and looking really bad, them having to end press conferences early? Fox News is, I believe, twice last week just cut away from him and went in totally different programming, didn't even address what he was saying. Have you been looking at him and noticed that he seems to be deteriorating, or is that just something to, because it does kind of tie into the ape meme, because I don't know if Trump 1.0, who was politically savvy, would have done this. I don't know.
I've definitely seen the videos. I've definitely seen the suggestion. I sometimes worry about like what you see online being, are the videos real? Are they, out of context? Is it like, so you have to view it with like a grain of salt. But no, he's definitely deteriorating. And at least that seems to be what I see, and also, or what I see, but also just being the president and making those decisions and having all that stuff to do. And the fact that he doesn't sleep, he doesn't eat well, and he has all these health conditions that we don't really know about. Yeah, he's not trending this way.
Not at all.
He is trending this way. He's not trending this way. There we go.
Yeah, I mean he definitely. I think Elon Musk kicked it off with that. Yeah, I just I look at him and I just remember when the ape meme came out again. I don't even know if this is worse than the Steve Bannon I'm making a documentary. He was like, oh, a staffer posted that. I'm like, so a young staffer has direct access to the portal of communication to the United States? Like is that a better answer than just like owning it? Yeah, I did it. What are you going to do about it? Or I did it, but I was trying to be funny and I missed. The fact that like their first thought was like, let's throw a staffer under the bus without showing how much that would undermine your authority, that a 22-year-old social media major from a mid-major university can just speak to the United States whenever they'd like to. I just thought that it seemed like there's a deterioration. Pam Bondi's embarrassing mean girl situation in the Senate. We keep saying that this is an authoritarian regime, but you just don't see it. Maybe this is not what I thought it was going to be a bunch of mean, stern guys. I didn't know it was going to be Kash Patel, who is flying around on the FBI jet with his country singer girlfriend, Steve Bannon taking mirror selfies, Deepak Chopra and Peter Attia leaving their child to go down to Epstein Island, asking when the wildest weekend is, Elon Musk. I thought it was going to be like buttoned up, mean, killer military generals, but it's just Kristi Noem saying, meth, we're on it. It's the worst. They're so bad. I just wish Is it bad of me that I wish that they'd like looked better as they were like being authoritarian?
Well, they have been able to get some scary things accomplished. I definitely think, like, when it came to what happened last week with the determination about greenhouse gases and the endangered,
Man.
like, they are able to really get some crazy stuff done that is going to set us back. But the incompetence, I am going to sound like one of those libtards here when I say this, but Republicans are not great at governing. They don't believe in it. They believe in small government, and they have no real interest in doing the job of what a good government does. That's kind of their thing. And that they went and dismantled a bunch of things. They fired people. They don't want these agencies to run well. They want them dismantled. Like, am I surprised that these people are not good at doing this stuff? Oh yeah. Also, let's pick a bunch of people who don't know how to do the jobs that they were put in place to do. Right? Like,
Right.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I will say that Lyndon McMahon has done an outstanding job with our education department. It's just the number of people in positions where their only job, I mean, you think about what Doge did, they just went and fired a bunch of people. They never brought in anything new. If somebody's like, hey, we're bringing in somebody new to take over, friends from work, they're no nonsense and they've gotten 10 podcasts off the ground and they're doing great now. If that person just came here, took away 4 mics and 2 of my lights and was like, okay, we're done here. They didn't add anything. They just destroyed infrastructure. And we're starting to see that now that tax time is rolling around. Now, when FEMA needs to alert a Christian girls camp that floodwaters are coming, that's not in place. These things that they convinced their base was bad for them are now not there. And we see what happens when there is no warning that a tornado is on its way. There is no warning that a flood is on its way. And all you have is Kristi Noem slow walking things, the FBI slow walking things, Pam Bondi lying and slow walking things. And I'm sorry, but their base falls for this all the time. Was it Trump or Bush? They put this is going back years. The head of the EPA, he couldn't name the three. He ran for president. I can't remember what his name was. But yeah, it's he was like he was trying to name the 3 types of energy, and he couldn't. It just seems like they keep getting away with this, and I'm waiting for a more energized, more educated electorate when it comes on the Republican side. Like, stop falling for this. I'm not saying that you guys can't be small government. If you guys want no government, just say that. But you can't just elect these guys because they say a bunch of racist, misogynist stuff. Like, you can get anybody to do that. But it ends up affecting you when tornadoes hit your community, when you need FEMA, when you need assistance, whatever it may be, when you need childcare, when you need services that we all need, that we all pay into with our tax money. Like, why aren't y'all more mad? I don't get that. If their whole thing was like, we don't want to pay taxes and we don't care if there's no services, that's one way. If you say, this is about austerity and I'm just going to hold it down for myself, I don't need your pension, I don't need Medicaid, I want to do this on my own, that's a conversation we could have. I don't think we should, but that's a conversation that could be had. But is there anybody on the side of, I'm going to pay a ton of taxes so that the head of the FBI can fly his girlfriend from one half-empty venue to the next to sing country music? Is that where you want your tax dollars to go? Because that's where it's going. Did you want your tax dollars to allow a racist South African to come over here and gut a number of our federal agencies, which we need? and then just fly away after doing a couple zig heils on the night of the inauguration? Is that what you paid for? Because you don't have to pay for that. You could just not pay taxes and it'll take care of itself. So I don't know, Michael Dean. I think that we have a lot to think about. Not this year, because I think right now the dam is kind of breaking. But maybe there will be a time in the future where we can rebuild. And maybe even if you don't like people of color that much, you don't like black folks, brown folks so much, all right, we're fine with that. We're used to that. It doesn't bother us at all. But just like, let's all figure out what we're doing with our tax money. Because if we're not going to have any services, let's not pay.
Yeah.
So we can at least agree on that.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this shit.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't have to like me. Like, let's all keep a little extra money, but just like no services. We'll just let the roads fall to shit, and we'll see how long until our running water is brown. So let's kind of all come together, even if you hate me, and let's like get some cool stuff going. And then you can go back into your nice apartment and type anything you want. I could care less. I'm not about changing hearts and minds at this point. Michael Dean, colleagues, we did it. I appreciate you guys holding it down. We are wishing Tori safe travels in the air. She will be back tomorrow, as will we. Michael Dean, you stepped in admirably. You just grabbed your helmet and you were just like, put me in the game, coach. I was like, you sure? And dude, you went out there and you won the big game. So on behalf of Michael Dean, Tori Shulman, colleagues, you know how I already feel about y'all. You know how we feel about y'all. We love you. Smash that like button. Please tell a friend to tell a friend that we got something going over here and we ain't going nowhere. So with that said, Michael Dean, Tori Shulman, colleagues, we're out.